Good morning and welcome to the Daily Tanya. Today is Wednesday, Chamisha Asar B'Av, the 15th day of Menachem Av. You know, the 15th day of Av is considered a very festive, happy day. The Mishnah says in Tainus, in this tractate Tainus, Loi hoyu yomim tovim leYisrael, kachamisha asar b'Av u'kiyum HaKippurim. There was no greater holidays to the Jewish people like the 15th day of Av and Yom Kippur. And the Gemara lists a number of things, what happened on this day. The people in the desert stopped dying. And a number of other things what happened. And although we don't celebrate it in meals or anything, but the Rebbe points out that this day is indeed a very powerful day, a positive day. And one of the things that Arizal says, that on this day, the 15th day of Av, we have a full moon. The moon represents the Jewish people, and the full moon is when we're the shining of the Jewish people. We shine the light of the sun, and this is a great festivity and a happy occasions because this is the shining of the moon after the darkness that came before the 15th day of Av, which was the 9th day of Av, Tisha B'Av, the destruction. It means that we see the results of our pain and suffering, and that it wasn't for nothing, and it was for good things. And ultimately, we celebrate, we realize that the light is there, it was always there. The moon is always there, except that it's concealed. So how should we celebrate this? First of all, by being positive, seeing the light in everything. And especially by studying Torah, it says from the 15th day of Av and on, we should increase in the Torah study. Of course, increase in doing mitzvahs. And that's what we do, especially studying the inner part of the Torah, the Tanya, the Chassidus, that reveals the deeper meaning of the Torah, which ultimately the deeper meaning of everything is the good God, and that we need to reveal the goodness. So we're going to get tzedakah once again. Gedola tzedakah shemekarebes esageula. It's interesting, and we are in the middle of letter 5 in Igeret HaKodesh, holy letters of the Alter Rebbe, and we discussed yesterday, and we continue to discuss today, what it says that God created the worlds with a Yud and a Hey. The letter Yud is the source of the world to come, the spiritual worlds. The letter Hey is the source of the physical worlds and the physical world. The letters Yud and Hey, Yud is 10, Hey is 5, together makes the 15. Which also represents the 15th day of Av that we celebrate today. So what we discussed yesterday, and Alter Rebbe now goes on to ask the question, is that when we know that the letters of God's name, the Yud, the Hey, and the Vav, and the Hey, represents the source of Hashem, the way Hashem makes the entire creation. And we see it actually in the shape of the letters. We see the Yud. The Yud is just a dot. And the Hey is, you have the expansions. So the Yud is the dot, is the essence of everything that cannot be revealed. The Hey is when you take this Yud and expand it. Whatever can be expanded to the width and to the length. The Vav represents drawing down, bringing down to the next level. And the last Hey represents, once again, the expansion of everything that was drawn down to become, in reality, to bring the creation of the real world. And that it represents also the Dibur, the speech, which is the communicating, the kingdom communicating for the bringing down from the concealed levels into the lower levels. However, the Alter Rebbe says now, what we learned yesterday is that the Yud represents the creation of the world to come, the spiritual worlds, and the Hey represents the creation of this world. And the Alter Rebbe is going to ask now, wait a second, which Hey are we talking about? You see, there are two Heys. The letter Hey that represents this physical world is the second Hey. So how can we say that our sages tell us based on the verse that says Ki be Yud K, the Yud and the Hey, Yud Meko Hashem Tzur Lamim, that this is the first Hey rather than the second Hey? So the Alter Rebbe is going to explain now that the second Hey, of course, the second Hey represents the speech, represents the actual creation. However, what it can only be revealed and to become reality only after the Yud is represented, is expanded in the first Hey. So the Yud represents the Chachma. The Chachma is the Dat, the spark, the concept which cannot be broken down. Only part of it can be expanded to the width and to the length. And that expansion is called the Bina, the understanding. Where is the understanding, says the Alter Rebbe? We understand with the heart. What does that mean? Because when you understand a certain concept and you connect to it deeply, and it develops in the heart, this then can come and be translated into speech, as from the heart comes the breath, which the breath represents is the source of the actual letters, the physical letters. They originate from the breath, as we spoke yesterday. But from the breath, then it is manipulated with a different the vocal tools. That when you have the breath, you can say the A, you can say the B using the lips, you can say a Vav using the lips, a Mem using the lips. There are other letters that comes from the tongue, the Lamed, and so on. The letters that come from the throat. So this is after it is in the heart that the idea comes into the heart, meaning connecting with this emotionally. Then it can develop into the breath, and which leads to speech. And that is the metaphor that we use to God's creation, because God created us in His image. That is why we can use this metaphor to understand God's creation. So let's see inside what the Alter Rebbe says. Says the Alter Rebbe, now, though this is the lower Hey, the latter Hey of the four-letter name of God, ורבי סיינו זכרינם לברכה דורשו זה על פסוק כי ביוד קי כי בכה. While our sages of blessed memory expounded this, that the world to come was created by the letter Yud, and this world by the letter Hey. From their reading of the verse, for by Yud K, God created the worlds. So it sounds like this world was created from the first Hey rather than the second Hey. And Alter Rebbe explains what we just explained, that the letter Hey, the second Hey, in order to be revealed, must come through the first Hey. This is because its source and the beginning of its progress into a state of manifestation from the obscurity of the Yud. The Yud, of course, is something that cannot be revealed in and of itself. Only after it is revealed, it is expanded upon in the first letter Hey. Then it can be revealed into this world. It says, "Umushpa v'nimshach mebchinas Hey ilah." This is influenced and drawn forth from the level of the upper Hey, which upper Hey has a similar, they look similar, the two Heys. The form of the shape of the letter Hey has dimensions of length and width. The Oires al Pchinas Bina, to indicate the faculty of Bina. For the upper Hey of the divine name denotes the level of Bina, the level of expansion, understanding, processing the idea. Shehi ispashtus ha-seichel hanelam mebchinas gilui ve'asaga ba'archovas hadas, which is the expansion of the concealed intellect into the state of manifestation and apprehension, extending into das, which is the das is the knowledge, the knowing, the connecting to the intellect. V'ashpa'asa mistayemes b'leiv, and its diffusion, the diffusion of the flow of Bina culminates in the heart. Now, the Rebbe brings a statement from the Zohar that talks about that Bina is the heart. The Bina liba uba alev mevin. Thus, it is written in Tikkunim from the Zohar that Bina is the heart, and by means of it, the heart understands. So once the understanding comes in the heart, that you connect to it, the idea is being connected even emotionally. It says that then brings out also the ability of speak through the breath that comes from the heart. From there issues the breath, the original manifestation of the body, of the letters of the speech, which becomes revealed from the concealment of the Yud through the five organs of speech. So again, the 5 organs of speech, they develop the actual, what we called yesterday, the body of the letters. There is the soul of the letters, which is the idea. And the soul of the letters, as we mentioned yesterday, comes from a place which is before that intellect. It's above intellect, something that cannot be explained. It is revealed, as we explained yesterday in length, that there is no way of practicing and teaching how to speak. I mean, yes, sometimes you have people who have a lack of understanding, ability to speak. You use speech therapy, but the essence of the speech comes from something which is beyond understanding. There's certain things that a person has that comes from very deep. Doesn't come from the logic, comes from beyond the logic, beyond understanding, from the very essence. This morning I listened to an interview with off-duty soldier. There was an attack in Israel, in Malay Adumim. A terrorist went around went around shooting people. And this off-duty officer noticed that something is happening. And he had a lot of training what to do in cases like this. And he went and he took his gun and went after this terrorist. And he got him and he killed him. Baruch Hashem, saving so many lives. And So he was interviewed today, and he said that when he was acting, that's what did you think when you were chasing after the guy that is running towards him with a gun, and the guy comes towards him? What were you thinking? Is this something that you're trained for? He says, yes, we were trained for that, but when I actually was doing this, it wasn't my understanding. It was something within me that kept me going, kept me doing what I'm doing, not because I understood that this is what needs to be done, but something very deep in me that the instinct told me, I got to do this. I got to move here, I got to move there, and I got to finish and do what I need to do. Sometimes there is things that you do which comes from beyond the logic, deeper. In a similar way, the idea of the speech that comes from the very deep into the soul, the fact that we are able to say these words, it's not something that we think how to say the words. This has comes from beyond. So here too, says the Alter Rebbe, this is the revelation of the Chachma into this world. Which becomes revealed from the concealment of the Yud through the 5 organs of speech. And the shape of the lower hay, which in its written form also has dimensions of length and breadth. This indicates the extension of God's blessed sovereignty, the sovereignty of all the worlds. And as it says, what this represents is the sovereignty and expanding everywhere. Which extends upward and downward and to the 4 directions, which is indicated also in the letter Vav, which Vav is number 6, up and down in 4 directions. And all these directions extending and issuing from the letters of the words of God. As it is written in Koheles, Ecclesiastes, that the king's utterance reigns. As explained elsewhere. How does the king rule over the people? The king rules with the speech. When he says to do, and we do, because we understand and we want to do it. Unlike a dictator who's going to force you to do something, then he's not king. If someone forces you, it says, the kingdom we accept with our own will. We make the king. And the way of communication is the speech. So now we're talking so much about speech, about the letters and how it develops. Alter Rebbe is going to say in this, the next point is, when we're talking about God, how do we talk about shapes of letters? Obviously, our God is way beyond any shape and any letters, even not only the physical shape, but even what this represents is also Alter Rebbe explains. So the Alter Rebbe says that the fact that we mention is explained elsewhere, and in tomorrow's class is going to touch a little bit on this. As for understanding somewhat the concept and nature of the letters of speech in relation to divinity, in as much as God has no form of a body, nor of a soul, heaven forfend. So this kvan is by b'derech aruka uktzora b'lekutei amorim chelek beis prokim yudala v'yud beis. This has already been explained comprehensively, yet concisely, in Lekutei Amorim, the first part of Tanya, in the second part of Tanya, Shar Yichud Emunah, part 2, chapter 11 and 12. See there. And tomorrow we'll be talking more about this. Have a wonderful day. And we should have the revelation of the light of Am Yisrael, the light of the moon, the light of the sun, which means the light of Hashem should be revealed with the coming of Mashiach and the building of the Beis HaMikdash today. Have a wonderful day.